everyone, it's Jack from Cultaholic.com, and yes, there's already a news video up on the channel today, but it's a Thursday, and these days, Thursday is one of the busiest news days of the week, and today is no exception. So, without any further ado, let's take a look at those lovely headlines. First of all, a recently released WWE Superstar has said that they felt played by WWE after they were released last month. Next up, we take a look at details on why NXT Superstar Matt Riddle is supposed to be making the move to Smackdown as opposed to Raw. And finally, an injured AEW star has confirmed on Dynamite this week when they will be returning to active competition. So first of all, let's go to Ryback's conversation with the Big Guy podcast. Ryback's conversation with the Big Guy podcast, where he was recently talking to none other than former WWE superstar Lio Rush. And yeah, as our headline suggests, Rush was not too complimentary about his relationship with WWE, especially in those last few days before he was released, or those last few months, I suppose it's more accurate to say. Because if you remember, Lio Rush had a bit of a weird time during the latter days of his WWE stint. He was injured for quite a while, then he came back, then he won the Cruiserweight Championship on NXT, and then he lost the belt and was then released. And one of the most interesting bits of this conversation with Ryback is Lio Rush talking about the period when he was about to return from injury. So before he's won the Cruiserweight Championship, he'd spent 7 months on the shelf, and he's supposed to be back around this sort of time. But he says, I was ready to move on. I'd accepted the situation for what it was. I think I checked out about 3 or 4 months after I didn't hear anything from WWE. So it sounds like Lio Rush was kept waiting. Even when he was good to return, WWE just didn't bother to get in contact with him for a little while. But then he says, then I got that call from Hunter. Some conversations were had, over the next couple of weeks about pay. I said this is what needs to happen in order for me to come back. I didn't hear anything from you guys for 7 months, so I'm not just going to come as soon as you whistle and tell me to come back. So it sounds very much there like Lio Rush was understandably very upset about the fact that he didn't really hear anything from WWE when he was ready to come back from injury, even though he knew himself that he was ready. They just didn't bother to get in touch straight away. And that is weird. You'd think a company the size of WWE would be monitoring everybody's injury status and would just contact them as soon as they're ready to come back to training or the performance center or whatever. But instead, Lio Rush was just kept on the sidelines for a bit. And obviously that really did upset him. He then talked to Ryback a little bit about his title win, his Cruiserweight Championship win, and said, as happy as I was that I was able to live out a dream and win a WWE Championship in front of my family, my fans, my friends, and stuff like that, it was still very disappointing and underwhelming. He says, the reason for this is just because I got played, I was fooled, and I blame myself for that. I should have known that was going to happen based off of past experiences that I'd had with WWE. So he doesn't go into great detail there, but I'm assuming by saying that he got played, he means the fact that, he was kept out and then brought back for a short spell of time and then released again. It was, you would be frustrated with all that coming and going. It's hard not to listen to this story and feel a bit of sympathy for not only Lio Rush, but this whole current, recently released group of WWE superstars, if that's the way that everybody was sort of treated in their last few months with the company. Then again, this could just be Lio Rush relaying his own personal experience, but he is the latest in a string of released WWE superstars who've used the platform of a podcast to really air some grievances, and it does seem like there is a lot in the way that WWE handles their talent that you could argue the talent are justified in feeling frustrated about. Next up, it has been widely reported that Matt Riddle is set to be called up to Smackdown in the near future, or is set to make his Smackdown debut, I should say, because NXT is no longer the third brand. It's all on a level playing field. He's just moving across to Smackdown, it's fine. Everybody seems to be suggesting that Riddle filmed something at the Performance Center this week, which indicates that he'll be heading to the Blue brand, which has come as a surprise to some, because obviously Matt Riddle has also been widely reported as a particular favourite of Paul Heyman's. And if we remember the people who were named as Paul Heyman's favourites on Raw, some of them have received pushes. I mean, I'm thinking most notably Buddy Murphy, for example. Aleister Black has been in a little bit of a prominent position as well, and I expect because Heyman likes him, the likelihood of great things happening in Aleister Black's future has definitely increased. I guess what I'm saying is, and another one I think was Andrade that Heyman was meant to like, and he's just obviously had that US title reign, but I think basically the point here is Paul Heyman is not scared of pushing his favourites. So therefore, surely it would make sense for Riddle to go to Raw rather than SmackDown if Paul Heyman's a big fan of his, why would he not be trying to get Matt Riddle over on his brand? Well, Brian Alvarez on Wrestling Observer Live has suggested a potential reason for this. He said, Paul Heyman is a big fan of Matt Riddle, so you'd think he's going to Raw, but this Matt Riddle-Lesnar deal, I'm sure there are people that are just encouraging Matt Riddle to do what Matt Riddle does, but on the other side of this, if they were trying to work together to build something up for a match, Matt Riddle should have gone to Raw. So basically, I think what he's saying here is Matt Riddle's going to SmackDown because they're not trying to build towards this Matt Riddle-Brock Lesnar feud that Riddle has really been pushing on social media over the past, year more? And if that's true, on one hand, I think it's a tremendous shame, but on the other hand, I can see totally why. So, first of all, I think that it is a shame because Matt Riddle's so hilarious on social media. You could argue with the way that he calls people out, like Lesnar, like Goldberg, but I think he knows what he's doing in a way. Also, I'm just disappointed because it would be an excellent match, wouldn't it? But if it's true that they're not building towards this match, I can also understand why. I mean, if you put yourself in the shoes of WWE's bulk audience, the more casual fans, then I think you can understand why they wouldn't be keen on pushing this match right now before Riddle is a more established superstar. So basically, imagine that you don't really watch NXT, you just know Raw and SmackDown, right? Suddenly this guy's come out of nowhere and is challenging Brock Lesnar. You'd just be like, well, I'm not going to take him seriously then. What's the point? Unless you've previously heard of him, I guess, from the UFC. And I guess maybe from like the Rumble where he got eliminated very quickly, Survivor Series where I think also he got, I think he may have eliminated one person but then got just absolutely battered by some, I don't think he was that impressive in that Survivor Series match. So basically, we need again to build Matt Riddle up before he gets these big matches. Or they could just have no plan to ever have that match. But if that's the case, I'd suggest that would be a big missed opportunity. Next up, Becky Lynch has talked to ESPN about a potential return to the ring after her pregnancy, once her child is born. And she said, yeah, it's one of those things where I know what I feel and think as a person without a child, but I don't know what that's going to look like when I do have one, and that's my priority. She did say that it would give her more motivation than ever, she would imagine, but this isn't the end of her one way or another. So a couple of things to look at there. First of all, a very good point made by Becky, I guess, which is that, I mean, I'm assuming, I'm not a parent myself, but parenthood just changes your entire perspective on the world. So you've got a whole new set of priorities now, and Becky is saying there in this ESPN interview that basically she knows what life's like without a child, and she knows what she wants to, or she knows what she thinks she wants to do, but having a child's going to just potentially change all of that, so she's not actually going to make a decision yet or comment on a decision until she knows how she feels after the child is born. I think that's a very, very sensible way to look at it. But towards the end there, she also suggested that this wouldn't be the end of her one way or another in WWE. So I think that implies that even if she doesn't want to come straight back and start wrestling again, even if she wants to take a step away and maybe even, who knows, maybe even never wrestle again, she does also say that she'll still be sticking around. And I can totally see that. You know, Becky Lynch is one of those charismatic people where you can still envision them having a place in WWE without any need to be an active wrestler. And there's various reasons for that, but one, as I mentioned, she's really charismatic, she's excellent on the mic, and two, she just has this incredible star power now. She's one of the most over wrestlers of the modern era, so she doesn't need, effectively, to wrestle anymore if she doesn't want to. And obviously as a fan, that would be a tremendous shame, but looking at it another way, it's her decision, and she's very right in saying what she said there, that she doesn't know yet, because once she's had a child, she'll be able to see things more clearly as they are, and then she can make a more informed decision. Next up, let's briefly talk about Deonna Perazzo, another one of those recently released WWE superstars who cropped up this week in video package form on Impact Wrestling. Now, Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful has reported a few updates about this. Now, although Deonna has joined the promotion, he says, she hasn't signed a contract with Impact Wrestling just yet. Instead, for now, she's working on a per appearance basis to see how things work out. Very sensible idea, I'd suggest, just to get, and I'm just being really complimentary about wrestlers' decisions this week, aren't I? Very sensible indeed. But yeah, this report from Sean Ross Sapp seems to suggest that she's just testing the waters for now, seeing what her options are before pledging her future to Impact Wrestling, which is fair enough. It reminds me of Kylie Ray, because Kylie Ray started cropping up in Impact here and there after she'd left AEW, but then of course did a few months ago actually sign a long-term contract with the promotion. So This might just be Impact's policy when bringing new people in, maybe sort of a probationary period, or maybe it's something that people like Perazzo, like Kylie Ray, have actually asked for in order to test the waters. From Impact's point of view, though, it does seem like they are going to invest a bit of time in Perazzo to get her character across, perhaps more than she even did in NXT already by one appearance in Impact, because she had this dedicated video package. She was talking about the meaning of her ring name, the Virtuoso, and saying that it means she's a master. She's an absolute master at doing what she wants to do, and just going on and on about how good she is, basically. But it worked, you know. You had like code and equations flying across the screen, and it made her seem like a bit of a tactical genius. So I think that this is a good first step for Perazzo, and we'll just wait and see what happens next. And finally, in a segment on last night's Dynamite, Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, confirmed when we should expect to see her back in the ring. Britt was obviously injured, unfortunately, last week in that tag match alongside Nyla Rose against Hikaru Shida and Chris Statlander, when the two babyfaces kind of gave her tag partner a double Death Valley driver. She was sat down in the corner and injured one of her legs. Now, as it turns out, as she revealed last night, in character, in a wonderful little segment, by the way, where she claimed that everyone had conspired against her, which is very hilarious stuff, but she confirmed that she'd broken her tibia in that match, and it was obvious from watching the match that she was immediately in trouble. They had a kind of scramble of finish together, and then the injury was immediately serious enough, obviously now that we know it's a broken tibia, that her match that weekend at the Double or Nothing pay-per-view saw her pulled out of it and Penelope Ford put in her place. But Baker was defiant, saying that she will be back this year, and we should expect to see her at All Out, which has been announced for September 8th. I believe. So a few months of recovery there for Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. Of course, we wish her the best in her recovery. And yeah, hopefully she's back and ready to go by All Out. So that's it for the news today. Thank you very much for watching this video. My recommended match today would be Dr. Britt Baker's match from All In, way back in 2018 now. It doesn't feel that long ago, does it? That was a four-way match between Britt Baker, Chelsea Green, of course, who's now in NXT, Madison Rayne, and Tessa Blanchard as well. A really good fatal four-way match. So check that out from All In if it's been a while since you've watched it. I haven't watched it in a while, and I'm looking forward to it. Thank you once again for watching. I've been Jack from Cultaholic.com. Stay safe out there, stay positive. Let me know what you think in the comments down below as well, by the way, and I'll see you very soon.